This is your stimulus check update and the latest stimulus developments as of Friday, December 11th. Let's get right into it. If you're new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Matt, and if you're returning, welcome back. It's nice to see you once again. As always, I really appreciate your support. My videos do pertain to everybody, including Social Security, SSI, VA, and RRB beneficiaries, as well as low income and no income. If you haven't done so already, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below and feel free to share this video or any of my other 700 videos here on the channel with your friends, family members, social media, or anybody else that could benefit from this information. Like I always like to say, I'm your daily advocate. I'm the underdog advocate. I'm back on a daily basis looking out for you, delivering all this content and information on a daily basis to help everybody navigate this really tough and confusing time. So I like to condense all of the information down into a short video, which I deliver to you each and every day. So thank you once again for being here. I truly do really appreciate it. And let's get into this and talk about what we have as of now. If you've been watching my videos throughout the week, you know it's been a very busy week when it comes to stimulus, and we anticipate throughout the weekend there's probably going to be some statements, as well as next week is probably going to be incredibly busy, just like this week. Who knows what next week is going to bring? I have no idea what to even guess. Like I've been saying, it's a roller coaster literally on a daily basis. So, I mean, it's amazing highs sometimes and really low lows, but either way. So Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell have both said that they will not adjourn until they have a stimulus bill, which actually brings me to my next point, which is the House adjourned yesterday for a nice long weekend. A little bit ironic, isn't it, how they made those statements that they will not adjourn, but yet the House adjourned yesterday. But either way, it doesn't actually really matter that the House of Representatives have left, simply because the stimulus negotiations are down to just a few people, the leaders, a handful of people. So if all the other representatives leave, it doesn't really matter because they're not really playing any part in the whole negotiation process. It's just down to the small group of leaders negotiating on the behalf of all of the representatives before they actually bring it to the floor for a vote. So, at the end of the day, doesn't really matter, but it's still kind of the concept how, we're kind of in a dire situation, but yet they just leave and just do whatever they want and take a long weekend. It's kind of funny. Well, not really at the same time. Nancy Pelosi has also said that they will continue working right up until Christmas or even after if they need to work out this stimulus package and the government funding bill. So kind of ironic once again. Do you really think these people are going to hang out in Washington and continue working the week of Christmas? Highly doubt it. I really doubt it. At the same time, the new Congress is going to be sworn in on January 3rd. So realistically, I've been saying this throughout the week, they're running out of time. Their backs are against the wall. They are running out of time. I don't care what you say. They are running out of time. They only have a little bit of time here. They can only push it out so much further until, they're literally out of time. That's it. Out of time. So, good thing they have procrastinated. When it comes to the stimulus package, Mitch McConnell is still having a hard time wrapping his head around this $160 billion that they have allocated within the stimulus packages, or the stimulus proposals, I should say, for state and local government funding. He continues to really push the idea of eliminating the $160 billion for state and local government funding along with the liability protections. He keeps saying, let's just take those out of the proposal and let's extend it out until next year when we start talking about stimulus once again under the new administration in January. So that's his idea. He really wants to take this out. He's having a really hard time with the state and local government funding, and which is, again, what's really holding it up, that along with a couple other things that is really holding it up between the parties here. However, this is actually pretty interesting. Bernie Sanders, who is a Democrat, and Josh Hawley, who is a Republican, the two of these guys have actually teamed up together to make a push for a second round of $1,200 stimulus checks. In fact, yesterday, they introduced a proposal for a second round of $1,200 stimulus checks. And at the very least, Bernie Sanders was out and said, at the very least, we just want the language to mirror the same language that we saw in the CARES Act from that first stimulus package, or the stimulus package that contained the first round of $1,200 stimulus checks. So It's interesting because, Bernie Sanders is what some people call like a progressive Democrat. He's kind of far out there on the left side, whereas Josh Hawley is a Republican, and these guys have teamed up. So it's kind of interesting that they're teaming up together saying, hey, we need $1,200 stimulus checks. It's, good at the same time. We literally see on almost a daily basis more people in Congress coming together and announcing their position on a second round of $1,200 stimulus checks. So it's not only us, the people, who are really encouraging Congress and everybody, the leaders, to come together for another $1,200 stimulus check. It's really a lot of people in Congress. The problem is there's only a few people out there that are kind of holding up the whole thing on the stimulus check. So it only comes down to really only a couple people that are holding up the stimulus check. So certainly very interesting. At the same time, like I said, Josh Hawley and Bernie Sanders introduced this for $1,200 stimulus checks. They are, in fact, at the same time trying to force a vote on this. And Josh Hawley said that at the very least, they want a vote before they leave town. So, they're kind of trying to really push this and get a vote on this whole thing. Remember, Josh Hawley is the guy who, I talked about this a few days ago. He's the guy who told President Trump, he actually encouraged President Trump to veto any bill that comes to his desk without stimulus checks attached to it. So, pretty interesting. And we can probably anticipate President Trump is in agreement with another round of stimulus checks, because that one proposal, the $916 billion proposal that came out a couple days ago, apparently came from the White House, President Trump, and that one has $600 stimulus checks in it. I know it's not $1,200, but there's actually a lot of rumor going around that President Trump is actually in support of even larger stimulus checks, $1,200 or potentially even more. That's kind of the rumor going around. So I don't know. There's just a lot of mixed signals. So if you're confused about all this, don't worry. A lot of us are too. It doesn't simply make sense. There's a lot of statements out there floating around. There's a lot of speculation. There's a lot of rumors, all this stuff. And it's like everything contradicts each other to some extent. So again, this is why I continue to come back on a daily basis as your advocate to kind of boil all of this stuff down that happens on a daily basis into a short video and to deliver this to you on a daily basis, just to let you don't need to do the research. Trust me, I do hours and hours of research every day so that I can give you 10 minutes worth of content in a daily basis. So it's a lot of content on a daily basis that comes out of here. So that's pretty interesting. At the same time, the Senate today, Friday, December 11th. Does that date ring a bell? Well, it should, because this is technically the date that the government would go into that temporary, or not temporary, but the partial shutdown if we don't get that the continuing resolution or the short-term stopgap bill to continue to keep the government funded for another week. So the Senate still needs to vote on that. The House voted on it and passed it the other day. Now the Senate needs to vote on that and pass it today. Otherwise, the government goes into that shutdown. That's today. By the end of the day today. So we can probably anticipate, considering we know Congress and how they act, they'll probably vote on that at about, 7, 8 p.m. tonight. They'll probably vote on it and, before they hit the road for the weekend or, whatever they do. Apparently, they're going to be hanging around over the weekend. Who knows what they'll actually get done. But, they need to vote on that. So congrats to them. Glad that they waited until the very last minute to vote on it. So we anticipate they're going to vote and pass it. Of course, they will. But I'm guessing they'll probably wait until the very last minute to do it, just like they did last time. So at the same time, there is rumor. Apparently, there's rumor going around, and there's some statements going around that potentially they think that they could have an agreement on the stimulus package, the stimulus proposal, by the end of today. I think that's going to be a little bit of a stretch, considering here we are Friday. There's still some outstanding disagreements and things that they need to hash through before they can come up with an agreement, unless one side just comes together and says, okay, fine, let's just do it and push it through. We'll pass it, or not pass it, but we'll just agree upon it, and then we can send it to the House and Senate for voting, all that stuff. But again, remember, as soon as they have a proposal worked up, an agreement between the parties, it needs to go into a phase where they write up all the language. That takes a long time for all of the aides and the people who are working on this to write up all the language of these bills. Remember, it is tons and tons of pages. a lot of pages that encompass these proposals and these bills. So it all needs to be written up. Then at the same time, there's also a lag period from the time it can go from the time it takes from writing it all up until it starts to be voted on in the House and Senate. So that takes a little bit of time. That you can probably count for probably at least a day for voting in the House, a day for voting in the Senate, and then how long is it going to take to get to the president's desk for a signature? It's all a very, very slow process. I think many of us probably know this by now, considering how long we've been talking about this stuff. But at the very end of the day, what matters is that the leaders, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, basically it's down to those two. Well, I mean, it's down to more people than just that. But what I'm trying to say is between those two, they both apparently agreed that they will stay and that they're not going to adjourn until they do have a stimulus bill. So we'll see if they keep their word on that. We've heard that line so many times now throughout the course of the year as they've come back and said, yeah, we're going to stay here over our recess until we have something. Well, guess what? We turn our back and then there you go. They disappear and they leave. They've said that how many times now throughout the year as they have a recess coming. They say they're going to stay and then sure enough, they hit the road and they leave. So we'll have to see if they actually honor what they're saying this time. Considering it's backed up by a couple holidays, I'm gonna think it's gonna be certainly a stretch at the most. I mean, it's gonna be a stretch to think that they're actually going to stay without, if they don't have a resolution to continue to stay into their recess and to continue to negotiate this out. I mean, these people want to hit the road just like everybody else would want to go on vacation from their job. So either way, I'll continue watching it throughout the day today. I'm sure it's going to be another busy day, but this is what we have as of this morning. So please have a nice day. Stay safe out there. I'll continue to keep you updated, and I'll be back probably this afternoon, hopefully with some really good news, but we'll see about that. Either way, I'll catch you again soon. Thanks, everybody.